Thanks for joining us for this episode, and I do want to remind you to make sure that you are following us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you may listen to podcasts. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@churchadvance, and you can actually watch video versions of each episode. We'd also really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star review and share this content with other pastors and church leaders. We want to help as many of these folks as we can, and so we'd really appreciate you sharing this episode with your friends. Well, thanks again for joining us as we begin today's episode and continue to advance a reformation of fellowship, partnership, and gospel hope amongst Bible-believing pastors and churches. This is Church Advance with Brian Sams.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Church Advance podcast with Brian Sams. Today's episode is just all kinds of epic because we are here to talk about what's next at Church Advance. We're talking about some opportunities and events in the next 18 months that really I am so excited about. And it's good to have Luke back in the studio with us. And Luke, we got some pretty great things coming up here at Church Advance. Can't wait, man.
Yeah, it's good. And, we were just saying it feels like we haven't done this in forever because we got so much amazing content while it was actually there in Jacksonville at the 2024 conference here back in February that you and I haven't had to record in a while. So, but yeah, here we are. We're back on the mic. We're live and we're ready to do this.
Yeah, a lot of things have happened both from the conference and as a result of the conference and even after the conference that I think have opened up some doors just really for ops, man. We're just always, I'm looking for opportunities to be a blessing to as many pastors or leaders as we can, different venues, different types of opportunities. So far, it's been the podcast and the annual conference, and we've been talking about how we might expand and do some other things that people might enjoy or take advantage of. And I'm so glad that these 4 or 5 events are coming. I mean, they're ready to go. So Luke, why don't you introduce them to us, and we'll talk a little bit about each of these upcoming opportunities. I think we're going, it looks like we're going in pretty much kind of order of chronological order, I should say. What's coming up kind of next.
Yeah. So we'll take a look at it here, and I'll go ahead and throw this out there for anybody out there who obviously this is a lot of information. We are going to have links to all of this on Brian's website, specifically on the page on the show resources page. So if you just go to briansams.com/notes, you'll be able to access all of this content that'll be our show notes for today in terms of links to these different events and opportunities. So yeah, let's get started with what's coming up here in September. And I think this one is we kind of get a taste of this back at Church Advance conferences if you were there. But this is going to be H.B. Charles Jr.'s Cutting It Straight Conference.
Yeah, I'm super excited to partner fully with HB for this coming Cut It Straight conference. This was a conference that was a very reputable national preaching conference leading up to COVID. I was there in 2019 as a guest. I was scheduled to speak in the 2020 conference, which of course was canceled for COVID. And I'm so thankful that after 4 years, they are putting this conference back on. And it is a conference devoted to the promotion of expository preaching and in order to help you preach clearer and better. And as we've talked many times before, many people that would know me would understand, I just think HB is one of the greatest preachers of our day and super helpful in teaching people principles of preaching. And as a homiletics professor, we share the passion. And so the conference has dynamic preaching And then it also has teaching during the sessions, all centered around expository preaching, all here in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida, over at the Shiloh Church where HB pastors. The congregational singing, the choir
Mm.
over at Shiloh Church, man, is like one of the great reasons to come. This is September 24th through 26th. You can go on their website. We'll link up to it, and you can see some of the other preachers and some of the events that are surrounding the conference. Very, very, very good. And of course, HB comes to our meeting every year. He's here at our church a time or two a year. I would highly recommend this. This is not an official Church Advance event, but I am there and we are in partnership together on this. And if you've never been to Shiloh and you never heard HB in his element there at his church, and these other dynamic preachers and teachers that are going to be there, this is going to be one to remember, man. Looking forward to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you know what's funny is in my world, at least growing up, a lot of times it seemed like pastors that also were guest speakers kind of saved their best for when they were preaching out. And that's not the case with HB. HB's best stuff comes from his own pulpit. I've been listening to his weekly preaching since we met him there in Florida back in February.
Yeah,
I mean, he let it. I mean, he was amazing and awesome there at the conference. But when he is truly at his home church with his crowd, I mean, it is something else.
absolutely. If you find him preaching online, there could be any number of settings. It could be an academic setting, it could be a conference that has a very specific theme, which I think he's good everywhere, of course. But yeah, you're right. When you're at home and you're preaching to your people and you've got the juice going with your family. I mean, how it is, like when you can be yourself as much as you can when you're with your family. And the Shiloh people, man, are some of the best people that I know, and they are just great hosts. And this conference, it's sponsored by a lot of great people. The worship is dynamic, and he always has just reputable, nationally known preachers that are super super good and engaging. So hope you can join us in Florida. If you're going to be here, let us know because we'd love to have a moment with you, maybe for a meal or coffee or something, or even
Yeah.
just to catch up with you. My whole staff will be there. We will be in attendance as well as preaching, and then we'll be doing some promotion of a few other ministries that we're affiliated with too. So that's Cutting It Straight, Expository Preaching Conference, September 24th through 26th at the Shiloh Church in Jacksonville. Great one. Can't wait for that one.
That's a good one. And again, head over to briansams.com/notes to get all the links to this. Now, the next one, this is something brand new for Church Advance. And I'm actually looking forward to hearing. I'm going to learn a little bit more about it right now because as
Yeah.
of now, we've got more of a save the date, if you will, when it comes to this. But this is going to be in October, what we're calling Church Advance West.
Yeah, go west, young man. Absolutely. So there's a place out there called Camp Grandview Camp. It is north of Tucson, east of Phoenix, in the mountains. Beautiful place. The camp director there is a guy named Matt Wilson. We actually went to college together. Matt's a great guy doing a great job. Matt's reached out to me a couple times. He's invited me to speak at camp. He's invited me to come to different events, and many of them I've just not been able to go to. I don't really go to week-long events anymore, it just for all kinds of reasons, mainly because of my family. But so I don't do as much camp preaching because a lot of times you go to a camp and you preach there all week, which I've loved. Did it, in the past was one of the things I love to do the most. But he's reached out to me. We've had numerous conversations, and he's talked about how guys out there in the West that he knows have benefited from the Church Advance podcast, certain things that I've taught or encouraged people to do, and really this he basically said, would you be willing to host a Church Advance conference in the West? So we are going to do that. It's going to be a Thursday evening through Saturday morning event. That's October 24th through 26th. On the campus of the Grandview Camp. Registration is not open yet, but the dates are set. If you live out in the West, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Colorado, those areas, even West Texas. Man, we would love to have you come and join us at the spectacular event. And here's the other thing I'm really excited about. Matt reached out to me with some of the speakers that he has been in contact with about this. And I want to share with you a few of the speakers that are coming. Of course, myself, I'll be leading. I'm going to be teaching and preaching one of the main sessions, as well as a couple of the leads on the talks, the Q&A sessions. It'll be a very similar format to what we've done here in Jacksonville. But also, we have confirmed the following speakers. First of all, Mark Ward. Oh man, Mark is such a great guy. He's the author of Authorized, the Use and Misuse of the King James Bible. Mark is best known for his work on Bible translations and is the leading voice, I think, on the subject of readability and intelligibility and understanding Scripture. He's a brilliant guy and a sweet-hearted guy. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. But we're going to talk about translations there, and Mark's going to help us lead that. Then we got Brent Armstrong. Now, if you don't know Brent Armstrong yet, you should know Brent Armstrong. Brent is one of my lifelong friends. We've been friends for over 20 years. And Brent is the lead pastor at the Tucson Baptist Church out in Tucson, Arizona. And Brent has seen transformation on a dynamic level. I think he went to a church of 100 people on Easter. I think they had about 1,500 in church, with about 70 people saved this past Easter. He is my friend. He has had a wealth of experience in so many areas, and is just known in the West now as one of the most dynamic pastors, preachers, and church leaders out there. And he's confirmed to be with us. And then Andy Gleiser is a friend of mine from college. And Andy is a part of a church planting team in Reno, Nevada. Andy's been a youth pastor for a number of years, a great speaker. And Andy is going to bring some perspective there as well. We have a few other people on the line that are planning to be there, but we're going to be using Grandview Camp as the registration point. So as soon as that information is available, we will put it up through our social media channels, as well as edit these show notes so you can link to it. And so you can find a little bit more about Grandview Camp in the show notes. And so, Luke, we're basically modeling the conference in our February conference here in Florida, out west. And I'm excited about that, man. Maybe you're gonna have to pack up your saddles, man, and join us out there in Arizona for this camp.
Yeah, we might see what happens there. Hey, I just love that we're branching out, quite literally branching out west. I think that's going to be a great opportunity. And yeah, could you go ahead?
I was just gonna say, anybody, there might be somebody out there that's like, man, we would like to do something like this in the North, maybe up in New England or, Midwest. Some people just can't do this. A lot of people like to come to Florida. We've had steady, decent attendance of nearly 100 leaders every year. We love the Florida conference in February, but I understand. I think it's great, and if I can get out and help in this way, but I'm excited to confirm this first one.
Yeah. I mean, I was excited to see how many. I mean, we had somebody from Hawaii at the main conference there back in February, but of course, it's just not feasible. I'm sure there's guys that because I can tell you this: you're not going to be inhibited by the cost of the conference itself. It's the actual travel getting there, and so to have this opportunity there, I think is really great. So that's Church Advance West. Again, mark your calendars there for October 24 through 26. All right, now we're going to talk about something that's a little bit of a joint effort between you and I, Brian, and it's something we announced at the Church Advance Conference, and that is Church Advance HQ.
Yeah, so basically what Church Advance HQ is an opportunity for you to get coaching and teaching specific to your situation on a subscription basis. So we are launching this. It's between me and Luke. And so what you will do is you will sign up at churchadvancehq.com. That'll put you on a list, an interest list. And then basically each month a subscription will be paid, and you will have a certain amount of hours of coaching in the following areas: pastoring, preaching, outreach and media, leadership and administration, things like philosophy, preparation for preaching. Luke's side would be marketing, branding, online ministry, website, social media, all those things a lot of people need help with. And then we also have some assistance in leadership and administration of church, like staff, systems and processes, developing internship programs, other things, maybe things that you found intriguing on the podcast. And maybe you thought, man, I'd love to dig a little deeper in some of these things. This just gives you an opportunity to secure a few hours a month where in one of these areas you would like to have this targeted help. And we're looking forward to launching that this fall, Luke. I'm excited. I know for you, I have benefited greatly from a partnership with you. And everybody thinks of us as this partnership on the podcast. This is just part of what we've done. There's been just a lot of connection here between, what we're doing with social media, what we're doing with marketing, what we're doing with video clips and branding and the website. And there's briansams.com and there's rivercitybaptist.church. All these things are me and you connected in. And so I know me, like I can speak for what I know about you, that it would be incredibly beneficial for most churches to take advantage of having some kind of media type guy in their corner. You said something one time, Luke. I want you to unpack this statement. You said every church has 2 campuses. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about that? I've heard you say that. And I thought that's really great. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, and I did actually do a full episode of that on my podcast. So you could go hit up youtube.com/must increase or wherever you listen to podcasts, check out the Must Increase podcast. But yeah, to give a quick synopsis, multi-site church is kind of one of those pipe dreams for maybe not all church leaders and pastors, but for many of them, the concept of being able to have more than one campus is something that, a pastor or a staff maybe has maybe ambitions for. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that or whatnot, but again, it's just very unrealistic for most. But what I try to help you realize is that every church does actually have 2 campuses. Every church is multi-site. You have at least 2 campuses. Of course, your physical campus, where you're bringing people in on Sundays and throughout the week to have worship services and different programs and whatnot. But then I like to see your online campus as your just digital presence in general. So everything from your website to your social media. I kind of give the analogy of if you have a building that has an auditorium, but also different rooms for kids ministry and whatnot. It's kind of the same way in the digital world. You come to your main website, which may serve as the hub for your church. That's kind of like your lobby. Click on the live stream. Now we're in the worship center or the sanctuary. Click on social media, and maybe now we're over in the kids ministry or youth ministry, depending on what account you've clicked on. And so every church does have multiple campuses. And I think we're all aware of that now post 2020. Or at least most of us, or more of us rather, are aware of it than maybe before. But when you have that mentality and mindset, it kind of revolutionizes the way that you think about your online presence. It's not just that live stream or that video of your service. It's all the multiple different facets. Again, if you will, the digital rooms that exist online through social media and whatnot.
Absolutely. And one thing I would say, Luke, to anybody that's wondering, listen, there is such a volume of this stuff. When you think in terms of creating a website, updating a website, hosting a website, managing social media, graphics, even knowing where to go. Like I was on a coaching call today and I introduced a guy to Shift Worship. Shift Worship's a great resource. Just not even know, just resourcing, man. And sometimes you just need to be in a relationship with someone who can even resource you out and lead you, and then even potentially partner with you in some endeavor, like in your case. And then, I mean, man, I have no end of people who are calling, texting, emailing, looking for questions and answers. Not that can't do any of those things, but you may just say, man, I just want to be intentional. I want to just lock up for a couple months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever. And I want to get some specific help in these areas. Church Advance HQ is going to be a place where you can do that. So go get signed up on the list. If you're not on a regular mailing list, yet. Luke's going to have a thing there. You can go to briansams.com and get there on the Connect page. But there's so much more that we're going to be sending out, even in respect to some of these other things that we're going to talk about in just a minute. If you don't get our regular email correspondence, just let us know, and you'll be getting some of these links to register directly to your email in the days ahead. So, man, I'm excited about Church Advance HQ with pastoral leadership preaching, and then on the media stuff with Luke. So you're getting a combination of things. You can pick and choose a little bit, but if you say, man, I want a few hours, I want to talk specifically about this, great. Well, Luke's going to help you with that. And so we're just trying to make ourselves available and helpful to you.
Yeah. And last thing I'll say about that, Brian, is this is essentially we're trying to more or less replicate and multiply what you and I have done there for River City. I mean, we found that what we've got works. You're in Jacksonville, I'm in the Nashville area, but yet we're able to make this work. And we think that we can help other churches do a lot of what we've been able to do there at River City and beyond. So, again, churchadvancehq.com. That's where you sign up to more or less get on the waiting list. And then here in the next or in the coming months, we'll be announcing more about it and have official actually launch the program in the fall. So now the next, kind of item on the list in terms of chronological order is going to be Church Advance 2025 in February of next year.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't planning on doing this, but it's interesting, Luke. Sometimes you just want to do what people need or want. And I had every intention of 2024 being our last meeting. It wasn't for anything, wasn't for lack of interest. It was just I was hoping to just focus my attention in more ways with the podcast and other things. But man, I could not believe the amount of comments I got when I told people this was going to be our last conference. Several people encouraged me to continue doing it. And then probably the backbreaker for me is when HB, Charles, encouraged me to keep doing it because he felt like there was a niche here. Because I was just going to jump in with them and do some, just partner with expository preaching. But he just encouraged me that so many guys love this and need this. And it's different than just talking about preaching. So, man, we're ramping it up again. And so I'm happy to announce February 6th and 7th. This is Thursday afternoon through Friday night. We're using the same format we did this year. Luke, by the way, I love the format this year of this year's conference. And so we're going to repeat that. It's more streamlined. It gives you, if you want to come in early. By the way, one thing that I don't think I even told you yet on the air, the early feature. So if you come in on Wednesday, which would be February the 5th, you can participate in our men's stakeout at River City Baptist Church, which is a men's event. And we grill up ribeye steaks. And man, we have ourselves a good old time. Tyler Prater from Liberal, Kansas is going to be our speaker that night, and he'll be staying for the conference. But it's a great night of fellowship, man. You guys will want to come. It will be an additional cost if you want to come early. So we'll have basically two parts. You can register just for the conference, or you can add on the Wednesday night dinner and meeting with the men of our church. And so that's February 6th through 7th. We got Tyler Prater as a speaker. We have HB Charles Jr. again. And then we have Kurt Skelly. It's going to be dynamic. Lots of great topics. I'm going to bring up several things this year that we didn't this year. We had some specific topics. Next year, we're going to go back and visit some things that are philosophical, practical, things about separation, mission support, just kind of music. We're going to talk about music and worship, things that everybody wants to know about, things that people are navigating through, things that as you lead a church, you may be having challenges, thinking through issues, translations, other things like that have really been the heartbeat of Church Advance. We're going to have fantastic worship experiences on Thursday night and Friday night with River City Worship. And then we're going to have 2 or 3 preaching opportunities. And then, of course, the sessions and the Q&As that we've done that have been so very helpful. Church Advance 2025, February here in Jacksonville, Florida. That's going to be dynamic.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And I'm glad we're bringing it back, because we had even said, I think publicly on the podcast, we're like, hey, 2024 is going to be the last conference. Make sure you're there. Sorry, so little bait and switch for some of y'all out there, but I don't think anybody's upset about it.
No.
We are looking forward to it, and you're right. And without mentioning any names or anything, not like it matters, but there was kind of a significant movement and network out there that kind of shifted, and they just kind of stopped operating here in the last year or so, and for good reason. Basically the pastors that were part of that, just their churches were growing, they had to focus in on their church growth. There's nothing wrong with that. But I remember talking to probably 3 or 4 guys there at the conference who were like, yeah, I used to be connected with them and they're not here anymore, but I feel like I still need a place where I can go and learn. And so we really have kind of, like you said, found that niche of those looking for, just practical help. And for those that have, that maybe have found themselves at somewhat of a misfit, they maybe were a little bit more fundamental, and now they're trying to just be a little bit more. I don't want to be insulting to the fundamental side, but you know what I'm saying. They're just trying to make those transitions.
They're progressing. They're
Mhm.
progressing, transitioning. They're loosening themselves from certain ideological boundaries, and there's tons of guys going through it,
Yep.
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands, no doubt. And that's not hyperbole, man. That's the real deal. And having a place where people get you, and they're encouraging you, and there are a lot of other. You look around as you at Church Advance Conference, everybody there, has a lot of the same heart, but you don't feel any animosity, anybody challenging. It's just such a healthy environment. We love the conference, and our church loves the conference. And so we're excited to keep it going. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and pump this next one. Look, guys,
Yeah.
this is the first time I'm saying anything about this publicly. But we are going to do a Church Advance Israel trip in 2025. The dates are December the 1st through the 10th. That's the Monday after Thanksgiving through the following Wednesday. We are using Land of the Bible Tours with Pastor Kurt Skelly. And man, we are going to have a blast. I just went to Israel. We're going to do a whole session, Luke, on the importance of Israel for the pastor. But my life was completely changed and transformed. My mind was filled. My heart was affected. Things came alive that I've just never. It's just an experience you had when you get off the plane in Israel, Luke. One of the first things I saw was a sign that said, "Welcome to Israel. You will never be the same."
Wow.
And that's absolutely true. So we're taking a trip. We're going to do a tour. It's going to be fantastic. It is. We're going to be opening up registration very soon. There'll be pastors. It's open to anybody. It's any church members, pastors who want to come, your wives. I hope you'll join us. We're going to have some special teaching. There's a few of our special guests that I'm going to be announcing at some point that'll be with us. It's going to make it even more special. But yeah, if you want to be with me in Israel, let's do it. December 1 through 10, 2025 with Land of the Bible Tours. Kurt is just got the best thing going as it relates to Israel, as it relates to cost, as it relates to experience. We were able to do some exclusive things that other people don't get to do. It's cheaper than most tour companies. There's going to be excellent food, excellent lodging, excellent teaching, excellent host and bus trips. Trip of a lifetime. And I hope that you will join us here at Church Advance for our Church Advance Israel Tour 2025. It's going to be a blast, Luke. And man, I want you to come, Luke. You need to come, man. You need to be there. I think we're going to try to make that happen. And we really, maybe even to capture just video and audio, just different things that we just don't want to pass up on.
Yeah.
Plus, it's just the most amazing experience in the world. I can't believe I waited this long to go. And it was so unbelievable. Yeah. Every pastor needs to go. It's not even a question. I think every Christian should try to go. But every pastor is saying, like, try. You need to go. And Kurt used to tell me that. And I tried to make time. And there were different reasons. Trips got canceled. COVID canceled one of my trips. The war canceled one of my trips. And I was just there. We're recording this in April 2024. I was there like 3 weeks ago, March 2024. I felt so safe. And it was just absolutely unbelievable. And I just cannot wait to get back.
Yeah. Well, Brian, when we first partnered up, I thought this was going to be pretty easy. I thought I'd just get to sit here in the comfort of my own studio and just record podcasts with you. But you drug me to Jacksonville 2 or 3 times. You're trying to get me out to Arizona. And now you're going to take me all the way across the world to Israel. I mean,
Oh,
this is,
let's
hey,
go.
but hey, here we are. I'm for it. Church Advance is going international. So
Yeah, man. We're
let's
gonna have a great
do it.
time. So those
But
are what a great lineup of things coming up in the next year or so.
yeah.
And I'm excited for how the Lord's opening up doors, allowing us to do some other things that we've been wanting to do for some time.
Yeah. Well, again, check out briansams.com/notes for access to all of this. The registration links to the things where the registration is live will be there. And then just if, like, for example, for Church Advance West, the Israel trip, Church Advance HQ, these things, you'll be able to get your name on a list so that we will notify you once registration for these opens. Well, Brian, hey, it has been good to have yet another episode here, and looking forward to all that's coming up.
Absolutely. You guys join us for one of these events or one of these experiences, and appreciate you being our guests. We certainly love and appreciate our friends and the support that you give. So check us out next time at Church Advance Podcast. God bless you guys.
Thanks again for joining us for this episode, and we really would appreciate it if you could leave us that 5-star review, and then of course share this content with your friends. We want to help as many pastors and church leaders as we can, and be sure to, of course, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you may listen to podcasts. And go ahead and subscribe to the Church Advance YouTube channel at youtube.com/@churchadvance. This podcast is hosted by Brian Sams. It is co-hosted and produced by myself, Luke Clayton, and the team at mustincrease.com. If you want to connect with Brian, be sure to head over to his website at briansams.com. Well, we really look forward to seeing you again in the next episode as we continue to advance a reformation of fellowship, partnership, and gospel hope amongst Bible-believing pastors and churches right here on Church Advance with Brian Sams.